When you look at a tree, it's easy to just see, well, a tree, right? It seems so still, so quiet. But today, we're going to peel back the bark and show you a hidden world that's buzzing with activity, a world of incredible physics and brilliant engineering. So let's dive right into the secret life of plants.
Okay, right away, we have a huge puzzle. Think about a giant redwood tree. It can lift water over 300 feet straight up into the air. That's like you or me trying to drink from a straw that's 30 stories tall. And it does this every single day without a sound and with no pump. So how in the world does it pull that off?
Well, the answer isn't just one simple trick. It's an entire system. A ridiculously efficient network of internal plumbing that would honestly make any civil engineer green with envy. Think of it like a system of superhighways, constantly moving everything a plant needs to live.
And this whole system is basically made of two main highways. First up, you've got the xylem. This is the water main. It's a one-way express lane, moving water and minerals straight up from the roots to the leaves. And get this, it's actually made of dead, hollow cells that form a perfect continuous pipe. Then you have the phloem. This is the food delivery service. It moves all the sugary food from the leaves to wherever the plant needs energy, like a growing fruit or down to the roots for storage. And unlike the xylem, this is a two-way street, and it is very much alive.
So let's follow that first journey, the one that just seems to completely defy physics. How does that water get from deep in the soil all the way up to the highest leaf? Well, the secret isn't about pushing water from the bottom. It's all about pulling from the top.
The engine that drives this whole thing is a process called transpiration. And you can basically think of it as plant sweat. As tiny droplets of water evaporate from the leaves, it creates this incredibly powerful tension, a sort of suction. It's the act of water leaving the plant that creates this vacuum-like force, which then pulls the next water molecule up to take its place.
And this diagram right here shows the whole beautiful process in action. See, it all starts at the top, in the leaf. A water molecule evaporates out of a tiny pore, and as it leaves, it tugs on the molecule right behind it, which tugs on the one behind that, and so on. It creates this amazing chain reaction that travels all the way down the stem and into the roots, literally sucking water right out of the soil.
So it all comes down to this really elegant four-part system, which scientists call the TACT mechanism. T is for transpiration, that engine we just talked about. A is for adhesion. This is where water molecules literally stick to the walls of the xylem tubes, which is crucial because it stops the whole column from sliding back down. C is for cohesion. And this is just a magic property of water, how the molecules stick to each other so tightly, forming an unbreakable chain. And finally, you get tension. That's the pull from the top that gets sent down the entire chain. It's just a masterpiece of passive engineering.
But hang on a second. If a plant is constantly losing water to the air, how does it not just dry out and die? Especially if it's in a hot, dry place. It has to let carbon dioxide in to make food, but every time it opens the door for CO2, precious water escapes. Well, plants solve this with these tiny, microscopic, adjustable gates.
These gates are called stomata, and each one is controlled by a pair of special guard cells. Now, when the guard cells are plump and full of water, the technical term is turgid, they kind of bow outwards, opening up the pores so CO2 can get in. But when the plant starts to get thirsty and needs to save water, those guard cells go limp, or flaccid, and they collapse against each other, sealing that pore shut. It's a constant, delicate balancing act between breathing and drinking. And what's so cool is how plants have adapted this same basic tech for completely opposite environments. Take a cactus. It lives where there's almost no water, so its stomata are often hidden in little pits, and they only open up at night when it's cooler. But a water lily has the exact opposite problem. It could drown, so its stomata are all on the top of the leaf, so they can breathe in the open air. It's the same parts, but used for totally different survival strategies.
Okay, so that brings us to our second superhighway. Now that water has made its incredible journey up to the leaves, the plant can get to work. It's ready to make food. But, making food in one place is pretty useless if you can't get it to everywhere else that needs it.
The leaves, they're basically solar-powered sugar factories. Through photosynthesis, they churn out glucose. But what about the roots, buried deep underground where there's no sunlight? Or a growing apple, which needs a ton of energy to get big and sweet? So, how does the plant get all that sugar from the factory floor down to the customers? The answer is another brilliant bit of physics called the pressure flow mechanism. Here's the gist of it. In a leaf, which we'll call the source, the plant actively pumps sugar into those phloem tubes. This makes the fluid inside super concentrated and syrupy. Now, right next door is a xylem, full of water. Well, through osmosis, water is naturally drawn into that sugary phloem to try and dilute it. All that incoming water creates intense pressure, which then physically pushes the sugary sap along the phloem highway to an area of low pressure, like a root or a fruit, which we call the sink.
So let's just break that down one more time. Step 1, sugar gets loaded up at the source. Step 2, water rushes in from the xylem next door. Step 3, this builds up high pressure that shoves the whole solution forward. And step 4, at the sink, the plant unloads the sugar to be used. And as the sugar leaves, the water does too, returning to the xylem, and the pressure drops. It's a beautifully simple, pressure-powered delivery system, getting energy exactly where it needs to go. So we've seen how plants pull water up against gravity and shuttle food all around their bodies. And what this really shows us is something profound. Plants are not passive, not at all. They're incredibly dynamic, they're calculating, and they are always, always in motion. And really, that's the big idea here. A plant isn't some static object. It is a bustling hub of constant motion. It's this complex system that's always responding to its environment, always adjusting, and even preparing for what's next. It's managing its resources with an efficiency that is just staggering. And this goes way beyond just moving stuff around. Take something called photoperiodism. Plants can actually measure time. They can sense how long the nights are getting. This is how a short-day plant, like a chrysanthemum, knows it's time to flower in the fall when the nights get longer. And it's how a long-day plant, like a snapdragon, knows to wait for the shorter nights of summer. They are literally measuring the calendar to time their reproduction perfectly. So the next time you walk past a park, or even just glance at a little houseplant on your desk, I want you to remember what's really going on inside. It's a world of physics-defying water columns, high-pressure sugar highways, and precision timekeeping. They sense, they measure, they react. And that just leaves you with one last question to think about. What other incredible secrets are they hiding right there in plain sight?